This month's video on pruning is we'll be talking about herbs. Some of the November pruning chores include herbs, and herbs are likely the most important plants to prune in November. Ideally, you start after you've had a frost or you need to protect to avoid winter injury. This video will discuss some very specific things about pruning herbs. November is the right time to be pruning your herbs in your herb garden. Granted, we say November, but ideally we should say after a good killing frost. And two of the herbs that I have here that need to be pruned now have died down after frost, after colder weather, are catnip and angelica. And these need to be cut back basically to the ground, all the dead material cut back. And you notice I've just pruned back to the rosette of green that might be left at the ground level, and just removing those dead shoots. So I'm going to cut all that back and clean it up for the winter. And once I get done pruning it back, I may take some long leaf pine needles and gently mulch that area with those needles and sort of cover any green material I may still have in that area. And this will actually help me with any potential for winter injury that might occur. Rosemary is one of those woody perennial herbs that we may have in our landscape or in our herb gardens. And if you have clients that have these and want to save that material, you want to consider pruning it for them or letting them prune it and instructing them on how to do that, and let them take those cuttings, if you will, and put it in a dehydrator or in an oven at a very low temperature and prepare them for use through the winter. They're one of three evergreen herbs that are shrubby, sometimes listed as shrubs. They both, rosemary and lavender, as well as our garden sages, tend to come from the Mediterranean region, where temperatures are usually mild through the winter, and maybe the soils may be somewhat alkaline and dry. And so they tend to produce a lot of shoots during our summers. But if we have very, very wet summers or wet falls, you may have some desiccation. So when we think about pruning them in the fall, we want to think about doing this after a good frost or after very colder weather, when we know we're not going to get a lot of new growth. And so we would come in and take a plant like this that's overgrown and basically come in and take those shoots back to actually individual nodes where we've got several nice even cuts that we can use the material we're removing for other purposes. Sort of shape the plant up. This will allow us to have a nice, neat plant come next spring. You notice I'm just coming in and clipping off back to nodes, back to little extra branches, if you will, and making it a nice, more of a neat, shrubby plant. Getting all the leggy ones out and saving the cuttings. So the plant is now more compact and even as we've trimmed it back, and this material here will go on a dehydrator and be used for later various purposes that I might have for it. Lavender is another one of those woody shrubs that I would do the same thing with. If I were to prune it, I would cut it back nice and neat, and I could take out some of the long flower shoots that are spent and actually remove those as well.